What's going on, everybody? What's going on? I'm going to make a video today talking about some of the fears that I experienced before moving into a truck camper. And gonna talk a little bit more about some of the things that I was afraid of, and where a lot of those feelings were stemming from. And it's really weird when I look back on, and when I ask myself the question, well, why didn't I do this sooner? And the answer just comes rearing back at its ugly head right at me every time. And for me, that was largely due to just what other people think and what other people thought. And this is a huge social phenomena in our society, in our culture, and I'm sure it goes on into, in American culture, we have society, we have standards that are there that say that you should be, if you don't live in a house with a picket fence with 3 cars in the garage, you're not doing very well or whatever, okay? And we just have all these things in our society, and they just create a real false sense of reality. And so it goes back to, what other people think. And one of the things that I've learned about what other people think is, well, simply put, it's none of my business. What other people think is none of my business. And it's just that. And you just leave it at that. But it's hard to do when you work, if you work in a company and your coworkers, and you start telling people that, oh well, I live in a truck camper down by the river. They're going to kind of, they may treat you differently. They may talk to you differently. Then they start to judge. And, human beings, by and large, nature, they judge other people. That's not going to change any day soon. That's going to continue to go on. And then you have the fear of ostracism, being ostracized from a group, whether it be your friends or your family, and them basically treating you like a second-class citizen. Or there's just all these things. And for me, going back to some of my fears, these were a few of the fears that I had and why I didn't do it sooner. But when you start to look at doing it logically, it really makes a lot of sense. Financially, it makes a lot of sense. Even emotionally, it may make a lot of sense. Spiritually, it may make a lot of sense. It may make a lot of sense all around for you. When you're able to downsize into a smaller living area and cut your expenses dramatically and be able to save more of your income, that's a huge thing. And people that live in houses generally will spend a lot more money every month than someone that lives in an RV or a very small dwelling. That's a fact. So that was just one of my one of my biggest fears, is what are other people going to think, and are other people going to judge me, and on it goes. That was probably my biggest fear. I think my second fear was that it would be something that I would regret doing, meaning that I would do this and move in and do this and downsize everything and sell off all my possessions and get rid of a bunch of stuff. And then I would wake up one day and go, wow, I really wish I didn't do this. That was a big fear for me. And I have not even considered that. Fear has never crossed my mind at all, because I've realized that I have so much freedom and flexibility that the prior situation would never, never, ever give like living in my truck camper is giving me right now. So the fear of regret. So I don't have any fears of I don't have any regret at this time about anything. So other than the fact that, it really just, what's happened to me now, amazingly, is it's exposed how much, it has exposed the idiocracy of how I was living before, with my huge house and these enormous expenses and paying for something that I hardly use, I wasn't there all the time. It just exposed a lot of inefficiencies with a lot of things that I was doing before. And the way that I'm living right now is it's extremely efficient. Extremely efficient. Talk about, utilities, for example. I mean, I remember that the last house that I owned was about 1,800 square feet. I had a wood stove, and I mean, I can't tell you how many cords of firewood that I split and stacked to heat that house the entire winter. And then I think about living in my camper and what have I used for heat over this winter. I was plugged in an RV park, and I was using this small $30 Radiant dry heat electric heater, and it was heating the the camper fine. And I think about what I spent and the amount of energy, resources, effort that were exerted to basically live, heat, stay warm, basic things here. And the amount of waste that went into heating that house, and all the energy and the resources and everything required, and I'm not standing up here on a pedestal, and I'm not knocking any of that. Okay. I'm not. And if you live in a house and you're very happy, and that, I'm not knocking that. I'm just sort of I'm just exposing some of the things that I figured out and I went through, and that if you've never lived in this situation before, you don't know. Subconsciously, consciously, you just don't see these things. You don't understand. So that was kind of the other big one. So those are a few of the fears that I had, guys, when I was beginning to do this, to make this change. And those are a few that really were holding me back a little bit. But now that I've stepped into the thing that I was afraid of, I was able to get through all of those things. And I can tell you with full confidence and reassurance that none of those things bother me anymore. So I hope that this kind of give you a little bit of insight, and can help you make some better decisions about some of the choices that you want to make for yourself. Take care. Thanks for watching, guys.